Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining me on this Friday. Appreciate your being here for my tarot chat. And today I decided to join in with One Deck Gone Wild. And I'm going to be discussing this amazing deck. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the pronunciation of the title of this deck, which may be Cheimonette. However, there have been different versions of this pronunciation, and I want to talk a little bit about the title. But welcome, my name is Sadhana. If you're new, hi. I'm a tarot reader and energy healer, and I'm here Fridays just talking about tarot. And part of the reason for bringing this deck forward today is to talk about an upcoming deep dive. So I have been walking for several months through the world of the Postcards tarot, and I have a series on my channel where I go into deck deep dives, and these have been anywhere from, I want to say, from about 12 to 30 weeks. So this really gives an opportunity to get to know a deck. And we just concluded a long stint with the Postcards tarot. And next, just so you know this, I want to, and I will try to repeat this a little bit later. So I do live readings on Tuesdays. Live readings on Tuesdays, and usually, so there's a theme, and I select different decks to work with. But I wanted to do a special live readings next Wednesday with the Postcards tarot, and this is not one that I would necessarily use on for Tuesday live readings. It is, oh my goodness, it's deep, and I get I won't say I get I think it has a very special energy, and I want the readings to be sort of prepared. So if you are interested in having a reading with the Postcards tarot, which really does dive into healing through dream work, then I would prepare a question and join me next Wednesday. Now, this is going to be a members only feature, but I will change it so it's at the carnelian level. So if you want to join in these special live readings and you're not a member at the carnelian level, which I believe is $1 or $2 a month, then you can just join for the month and then hop into these live readings. So if you can bookmark this time, and the thumbnail is already up. I believe it's public right now, but I will change it to a members only live readings for next Wednesday. Okay. And then I'm going to start the journey into and I'll do a public video next week with an introduction to the Cheimonette tarot, which is my default pronunciation for the deck, and then that will go back as a members only feature at the citrine level, which is $5 a month. Okay, hopefully that's crystal clear. Welcome everybody. Donna. Smoky day in Kentucky. Oh, you must have forest fires. Oh, forest fires coming down from Canada. Thank you, Canada. That's what that's for. Welcome. Okay, so Dee, I believe I said hello. Welcome. Happy to have you here. And Hannah, namaste to all of you. I will do my best to greet you as you come in. There are 1 bazillion questions in this tarot tag, and I want to do justice to some of them, but I certainly will not be answering all 37 of them. I have not prepared all 37. Okay. I do have 2 copies of this deck, and I may be showing you. So this is the deck as it comes. This is edged in black if you do see this side of the deck. And I also have another copy which I have taken off all the borders, and so I may show you cards from my borderless trimmed version, which has never been edged, interestingly. And I would love to edge it actually in this color, this purple. It's quite an incredible color. I should do that, just sit and do that one day. Do you like edging decks? I love edging decks. It's fun. Trimming. I actually need to find a new deck to trim. It's great. So the first question. All right, why? Why did I pick this deck? This has nothing to do with the cards that are on the table. I picked this deck because I find it very emotional. I have never really used it as a primary reader, and I would love to use it more. It is, I feel it's pain. You know, it has, it really touches me in a deep, mysterious way. And while this deck is in the most part, there are some cards that you could read intuitively, but it is one that is what I want to say here, it's just really a deck that comes from one person's heart. And, you know, often when a deck creator, and we've talked about this a lot in the last few weeks, takes the tarot and makes it their own thing, sometimes I find tremendous resistance to that. It's like, where are you going? What are you doing? It's like it oversimplifies the tarot. And the deck is, it's like a dummied down copy of the Rider-Waite-Smith. But this deck doesn't do that. This deck evokes some deep, mysterious stuff. And yes, you could call it an oracle, but it is in a tarot format. And I hope today I can share with you some of the reasons why this deck, it haunts me actually. So that's why I chose it. The favorite set of minors is the next question. And I have the 9s on the table. The number 9 is the number of ripeness, fullness, saturation of the suit. And there is a lushness to this number. And there's really something quite extraordinary. I may read you some of the descriptions of this card, but the 9 of Staves, or the 9 of Wands, you know, one of the reasons that RWS and RWS clones, I use them a lot for teaching, and some of them I really enjoy working with. I've been using Keeper of the Sacred Bee quite a bit lately, but I love to go a little bit beyond the illustration that kind of paints you into a picture and look at what it means to be at a place where, so in the Suit of Wands, we're in the place of will and dharma and fulfillment of a life path. I just don't want to see somebody walking down a path with a bunch of sticks on their back. It's so much more than that. And in the same way, I also really enjoying my dive into the Thoth Tarot, but there's something about a deck like this that gets me to go deeply into what does it actually mean to reach the completion of an element, or this turn of the wheel at the element. And I find it really beautiful. In the 9 of Cups, instead of simply being a wish card, there is a there is an embracing of emotion. And here we have the symbol of the fish. So each of the minor suits have an animal that is the sigil, the fish for the suit of cups. And it is full inside. It's hard to see with the artwork the way it is here. So this is ink and watercolor. And the fish, which is the symbol of the emotions, is inside the body of the princess. And so she's full, her emotions are fully experienced. She has become one with her emotions. It's just a really beautiful depiction. So yeah. And, I will talk about this a little bit as we go through, but the reason I have the court cards below is because in each of these 9s, these are the court cards that are in the painting. So in the minor arcana, the 16 court cards appear in different cards, and they are woven into the story of the suits. And so in the 9 of staves, we have the Princess of Staves. And you see princess, princess, queen, and queen. And so their stories unfold throughout the deck. Yeah, it's quite something. And there's also an evolution of the spirit animal as well too. So not only do the humans evolve through the journey of the suit, but the animals evolve. And the horse, who is the sigil for the suit of pentacles, has wings in the 9. So it becomes, a winged horse. So it's really, I like the 9s. They express that sense of fullness that comes up, that sense of fullness that I want to see in a 9, that is also a reflection of the potential of the ace. Okay, so yeah. So those are the 9s of this tarot. Now let's talk a little bit about, and thank you for sharing. I see that Dee's put up the blog of the creator. This particular deck, the name of the deck, so the suffix ETTE means little. It sort of has an affectionate tone to it. You can add the suffix ETTE to pretty much any word, and it makes it feel sweet, cute, little, petit. It's much like, I think, in the Japanese language when you add the suffix for little boy or little girl to a word, or to a name. It's an adornment. It's an adornment, an adoration, right? It's affectionate. And then the first part of the title, the word Cheimon, is Greek. It is not French. It is Greek. So it is not connected to the word for way, which, if this were a French word, it would be Cheimonette. But it is a Greek word that refers to winter storm. One of the things that Eden, the creator of the deck, says in she talks about it being a storm, but it has more of an edgy winter storm feel to it. And in Greek, which I do not speak, it is Khimon. And that KHI it's rolled on the tongue. It's like Cheimonette. So if we were to put this together, it would be Cheimonette. So you know what? I would like you to, yes, that is the word I was thinking of. So the name is a created name, and I believe I saw and I've heard Eden in a video. So if you go to the Kickstarter campaign for this deck, she does say Cheimonette. She does say Cheimonette, and her pronunciation of it does change. So I've heard her pronounce this deck in a couple of different ways. So you choose. Okay. All right. The next question is, what card reminds you to relax when it comes up? Okay, what card reminds you to relax? Such an interesting question. All right. Here's one. I picked two. This is the Seven of Discs. The Seven of Discs. Love the moon cycles on the card, the moon phases, or the moons. You can't really see the phases, but they're there. The way that the horse is drawn, with the horse's mane free and I don't know, there's just something away that the wind is blowing through the hair of the horse, and the horse feels like it's, you know, that idea of, you know, stop and smell the roses, and it wouldn't be stopping if the hair was like that, but there's just something about the wind and the hair and the gentleness and the beauty of this card. I really feel very calm. Yeah, I like this card a lot. And the other one, which takes on a little bit different meaning in this deck, that you love my feisty, mischievous grin. Thank you. If that's a compliment, I guess it is. Okay, so this one. So honestly, I really, really don't like this word. This word, relax. One of the things that I try to share when I'm teaching yoga and I'm teaching metta, perhaps. Sorry, I'm going back. I'm getting lost in the chat here. Yeah, perhaps. But I don't know if it snows in Greece. So that's another thing. So when I think of blizzard, I think of snow. So I'm not sure about that part. The question was, what card reminds you to relax when it comes up? I prefer something like to let go, to find ease. There's so many ways, and part of my work as a healer, yoga teacher, I teach a lot of restorative yoga to help support people on their journeys in finding healing and balance. And I think it is imperative that everyone has a word that helps them to soften. Soften is another great word. And it is, so both of these cards help me to soften. Yeah. I think they're beautiful. Something about, there's an ease, tremendous ease in those cards. All right. All right, apparently it does snow in Greece in the mountains. Greece is not just ocean. Your favorite representation of the color blue. Well, I already shared with you that I love this, and maybe this is something else I love about this deck. The colors are exquisite. So I do like this color, which goes towards the purple side, but I chose two other cards here. This is the 9th Arcanum and the 7 of Cups. The question is, what is your favorite representation of the color blue. And there is a lot of blue in this deck. So yes, I understand. There's quite an extensive mainland. It's not just the little archipelago of islands. Yeah. Blue. And I was talking about this yesterday, day before yesterday, about blue and the abundance of blue and the color blue. Blue, to me, really speaks to the feminine, and I think it's a variation, metaphorically speaking, on the color black. And especially when we see blue and red, masculine, feminine, conscious, unconscious, but it has a different energy than black, and I really think that it brings out a lot in this deck, and I love this particular color of blue. Like I said, we have the purples in the deck, and then we also have sort of a midnight blue as well too. Like in the Empress card, we have these darker blues, and there's that purpley color again. So yeah, beautiful color. What card makes you... Oh, I've got the wrong card on the table. I wrote down, sorry, I just want to make sure. What card makes... so many questions here. 6 of Cups. Where is my 6 of Cups? That is 7 of Cups. Okay, I just want to look for the 6 of Cups because I made a note about the 6 of Cups and the color in the 6 of Cups. Staves. Okay. If you have, oh yes, okay, so there is the 6 of Cups, and that sort of is the same color as time, but it also has both the purple in it. Yeah. If you follow my channel, you know I love watercolor decks. You would like to know more about this suit? Okay. I'm going to read to you about the 9th Arcanum, which is the Hermit, right? Okay. Does she actually talk about this? Okay, here we go. Father Time walks over the surface of his world without touching it. Father Time walks over the surface of the world without touching it. He is an acrobat rather than an infirm cripple. He has the skill to see without interfering. The sea may look opaque to us, but he sees clearly through the water and learns from observation. The justice fish looks playfully out of the water, and the old man is for the moment beyond her reach. But her karmic power games will overtake him sooner or later. This reminds me a little bit about, so I started my walkthrough and some reflections on the Sasarai Bito Tarot on Wednesday. And it's really interesting because we have a very similar figure in this deck. And I have always loved this card. The cherry blossoms, I think, are symbolic of spring and life and newness. And, you know, it's that question, people, that's that question of time and chronology. Honest to God, I don't feel like I am 60 years old. I'm not sure I feel any different than when I was 30. And when people, it's so funny, in the grocery store the other day, so we have a seniors discount on on one Thursday a month. And this has happened to me a few times, and they ask, do you qualify for the discount today? Well, it's 65. I'm not 65 yet. But it's funny. I really do. And so when I look at this card, both of these cards, it reminds me of how supple, regardless of the appearance, one can feel. One can feel in one's just mind. And I don't know, I think we need to be really, really careful. I was asked to edit. I love all this. Dee also feels like she's 30. Oh, thank you, Hannah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hi, Saskia. Welcome to you. Yeah. What was I going to say? I had something to share. Oh, yes. So I was asked to review a book on restorative yoga, or no, it was chair yoga. I was asked, so somebody sent me a book on chair yoga to review, chair yoga for seniors. And I looked at I did an overview of the book. And then I started to read it. And it was written by a young person who had worked with their mother, teaching their mother about yoga through doing chair practices. And honest to God, the book was so insulting. The way it was so condescending, the way that the writer guided and introduced the poses, let alone the lousy teacher that she was. There was no breath cues. There was so little awareness. It was such a rookie yoga teacher writing this book because she had done a little bit of chair yoga with her mother. It was awful. And I didn't write a review because I could have just said not nice things about the book. But it's a reminder to know that, you know, how one appears to you is not necessarily how they feel in their heart. You know, I think we need to be very, very mindful of that. Loving these comments that you're sharing. Hannah says, in my early 30s, I felt older than now. It was a particular time in my life. Yeah, you know, and I think this is, anyway, this is not part of this tarot tag, but yeah, I think it's an important discussion. Okay. Next. Nostalgia. So for nostalgia, I chose this card. This is the Seven of Cups. And I think I've told you this story a couple of times, that when I was a little kid, I used to see kaleidoscopes. And I remember sitting on, I have this memory of a particular time in my life. I don't know how old I was. I know what position. My bed changed positions in my room a few times, and I know what direction the bed was going. It's a funny thing, I remember that. But I remember sitting there and sometimes with eyes open, not just with eyes closed, I would just watch the stained glass, the glass pieces as they moved, and they, my goodness, I used to love just sitting there and getting lost in the kaleidoscopes. That's what I called them. That's what that felt like to me. I did have some cheap, over the years in my childhood, I've had some cheap ones. I never really had those beautiful ones that they're kind of heavy and high quality. That would be amazing to have one of those. But I would sit and stare at these kaleidoscopes. So this card makes me feel nostalgic. It just kind of feels like that. So that's why I chose this card for my nostalgia card. What card shifts your perspective? For this card, I chose the Ten of Staves, the Ten of Fire. And you can see here, we have one of the court cards down on the bottom. And all of this energy rising up and out. So remember I was talking about how this deck really feels the energy of the cards. And I love this idea of 10. So 10 is wheel. And I know there's some decks that call the 10s the wheel of fire, the wheel of air, the wheel of earth. But the way that Eden Gallanter describes the 10s is them like as a mini death. And the Ten of Staves really feels like a release of that kick at the can. So when I am working, when I'm doing a reading, I'm mindful that this round through the suit of fire, this journey through the suit of fire, is not my first time through the suit of fire. And it's not a burden. The 10s really are a release. Change is, the fire transforms, energy is never lost, it moves on, and I really love this description. She says, the bloody death of the King of Staves, bent and broken at the bottom of the image, and with the staves growing out of his body like flames of fire. This is what happens to the human capacity for imagination. In the end, it consumes itself. I don't really, I see more. I see more here than she describes in the Little White Book. And so sometimes in the Little White Book, there's insights that really make sense to me. But I think intuitively I can really feel this card. We must trust that energy transforms, energy changes. Yeah, it does look like a death card. And I believe in each of the 10s, Eden uses the word death. And there's that sense of death being completion, right? So I believe part of the process of growing and moving on is part of the process of moving and going on requires us to let go of the past. And here we are releasing the element of fire. Here we are releasing the element of fire. No, this is not the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords is different. I'll see if I can find it for you. Yeah, the Ten of Swords, there are two, this is the Ten of Swords. There are two suits in this deck that have a complete story, a sequenced story. And so this is the Ten of Swords, and it is the completion, the conclusion of the story of this suit. Yeah. Okay. I need to kind of get these cards in order so I can refer to them. Hannah asked, what does the Ten of Wands have to do with death? Yeah. All right. So the question was something about expanding perspective. What card shifts your perspective? And that's why I chose that card. Next question. What is my favorite animal in the deck? Well, that's not a hard question. It's the horse. It is the horse. So there's the Seven of Discs. I already showed you that one. I'll see if I can find more horses. They're really beautiful. I love the way that she draws the horses. Okay. Cups, swords. Sorry, I thought I had this better organized. That definitely is my favorite horse card. There's the horse and the Two of Discs. And the Eight of Discs. Yeah, so in this deck we have fish for cups, horse for discs, and for, let's see if I can show you. I want to show you. Oh my goodness. I thought I had these cards so organized. I apologize. And I tell you another thing I didn't prepare is that there's multiple world cards in this deck, and I don't think I pulled them out for you. So that's my, okay, so in the suit of fire we have the snake. The snake, the serpent. So yeah, so this is definitely my favorite animal in the deck. Okay. Ooh. I love that. Thank you. I'm not a horse person. I don't know much about horses. I never, as a child, had a chance to ride horses, but I've always loved their energy, and if I have an opportunity to go over to a horse and to pet a horse, I feel very comfortable in their energy. All right, so this is a really interesting question, and when you are thinking about, I'm going to put the question on I'm going to put this one up. Which court card reminds you the most of heartbreak? And I've got the Prince of Discs and the King of Discs. And as I was saying, there's a lot of emotion in this deck. That would be wonderful, Donna. Thank you. You know, sometimes you see someone who just feels like they hurt. They hurt so much. They may very well have a chronic injury, pain, but there's something about these faces that feels like the heart is broken. The heart aches, and I just feel, and the description actually for the King of Discs is really beautiful, and I don't think either the intention for either of these cards is brokenheartedness, but I really feel, and I would love to listen. I would love to listen to both of these cards speak. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because when I look at the Prince of Discs there, doesn't he does. He looks quite a bit like the boy in the Temperance card. Or the demigod in the Temperance card. And it's interesting because both the Sasraibito and this deck were on the, I mean, there's other decks that were on the list for going into a deep dive, and I will eventually, one of the reasons I want to do a deep dive with this deck is I love all of the hidden hidden things in the cards, and so I would love to do a deep dive with the slow. And so if there is a reprint of that deck, I will do a deep dive. And I also know that the Tildwick is having another printing. There was a small run, but there's going to be a larger run of the Tildwick, and I will do a dive with that. And I will do that, the Tildwick, as a public. It'll be public because I know everybody can't get their hands on that deck. So yeah. All right, next question. Which card constantly follows you, appears from this deck? All right, well, I said I have not been actively reading with this deck for a while, and I've done a few readings lately as I'm preparing for the deep dive with this deck. And this is the 10 of Cups. And there's just something about this card, and it has come up in a few readings for me, and it feels immensely comforting. Immensely comforting. I love how I believe it would be the King of Cups is in this one, obviously. I'm assuming it's the King of Cups. He looks a little bit different in this card. Another thing, if you don't have this deck has full colored pictures in the guidebook. Yeah. So again, she talks about death. The kings are in the same attitude as the king in the 10. Oh, the king is in the same attitude as the king in the 10 of Swords, but these kings have died. The mandala flowers of love bloom between them, indicating that their death has merely made way for more positive growth. I don't know, I feel it's just so, and maybe this kind of goes through the whole suit of cups. It allows emotion to unfold, and there's something really fulfilling about this card. And when it comes up in a reading, I just feel like okay, it's good. It's good that I'm feeling. It's good that sometimes things are intense, and I think that's part of experience. And maybe this is why this card has arisen quite a bit lately. Okay. All right, this is a really cool question, and you might be surprised at my response. The question is, if you made this deck a meal, what would it be? What would it be? Okay. So I'm going to share some cards. Just put some cards on the table. And my response, you know what my response is? Dining in the dark. I have never been to one of those restaurants where you dine in the dark. I've never created a dining in the dark experience for my family or friends. But if you're not familiar with what dining in the dark means, dining in the dark is, well, exactly what it is. You are guided to your chair, and the waiters have night vision goggles on, and so your senses are heightened. The food tastes different. Your conversations are more, you really listen to the words of the conversations. So yeah, so that's what this deck reminds me of, is dining in the dark. Dining in the dark. Yeah. All right. What is the deck's favorite book? I hummed and hawed over this question. What is the deck's favorite book? I think it is Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet. And there could be other tragedies, classic tragedies, romantic tragedies, I think. But I think Romeo and Juliet is a good response to this question. And then I also started thinking about films. What films does this deck portray? And you know, it's funny, I was thinking of it's Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage. It's called A City of Angels. And I don't know if you've ever seen that film, but there is an angel who, and this is something that we'll talk about in the deep dive, is the angels in this deck. But there's an angel that chooses to fall so he can become human. He's very curious about the sensorial experiences of the human that he meets. And there's this really beautiful scene where he asks her, what does a pear taste like? And she describes the experience of eating a pear, and does she know how to eat a pear? But yeah, so I think that is what this is about. Yeah, I get that too. Thank you for those, Donna. All right, this is okay. If you were to travel anywhere, where would you take this deck? Well, I suppose, based on what I just said, I would take it to Italy. I would take it to Italy. I think it's a funny question. But I think perhaps taking this deck into some of the older cities, maybe in Croatia, or yeah, I don't think the ruins of South America, that's not where I would take it. I think it would find its heart connected into the stories and the secrets and the ages of some of the older European cities. Yeah. All right, so which card would you hang in a room in your house? This is a really good question. You know how often if you have a Kickstarter, you get a postcard, or you get a larger version of a card? And I actually, I have a drawer full of postcards and art from various decks. This is the 3 of Discs, and I really like this card. I would hang this on my wall. I would put this in my healing space. I read that book. I remember the details of that book. Gosh. I think I actually might have read Catch-22 in a literature class. I took a lot of literature classes in university, and I remember. Anyway, I would hang this on a wall in my healing space. Of all of the cards in this deck, I think I would frame this one. Okay. The next one is something that sets this deck apart. And I've already alluded to this, but let's look at the majors. If I can find a stack of majors. Okay. All right. So in this deck, like the minor arcana, we have various figures. So let's move this one to the side. There's the High Priestess, which is a really interesting card. We have figures that travel between cards. And in the Death card, I believe the child in the Death card is the priest. And what Eden does is she gets us to look at different archetypes in different places in the journey. So I think this really, for some people, once you get to know the deck and understand all the players in the deck, this is why I want to do a deep dive with this. It's been, gosh, when did I get the deck? I don't know. 5 years ago. I got the deck 5 years ago, and I played with it quite a bit when I first got it, but I really have evolved a lot as a reader in the last 5 years, and I really want to do some work with this deck. So yeah, so that really sets this deck apart, both in the majors and in the minors. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more. There's like a whole slew of questions I didn't even address. Favorite card. High Priestess. High Priestess. This card to me is so fascinating. I cannot okay, just gonna put that up there. I'm going to read to you in her words. I'm quite taken by this card, and I love what Marie White did with the High Priestess in her deck as well too. The Priestess and the Priest represent two opposite views on the self and of the retention or relinquishment of power over it. The Priestess follows her own counsel above all others and rides the current of her internal seascape without trying to direct its inclinations. She accepts the tides of her emotional and irrational self as wiser than her conscious mind and takes her cues from her intuition rather than from outside guidance. Sorry, I need a sip of water. Listen to this. She is asleep inside herself. The pattern on her body forms a spiral like the arms of a galaxy spreading outward from her flesh. The towers of her throne are the towers in the moon card, seen from the opposite side. Ooh, and this was another thing that this deck did, was it got me to start looking at cards from different perspectives. The arch of stones between them is her spine. The red nebula in the sky behind is her heart, and the black curves crossing it are her ribs. Her body is much like the changes in the weather or in a landscape, something outside her control and beyond the reaches of her intention. She must listen to the inclinations of her mind and body and choose the course of her life from what they have to teach her. It is not that she allows them to master her, it is that she takes her own path of least resistance, harmonizing the tendencies of the subconscious. It also, the rib cage behind her, it also looks as if that is like a portal to another experience. So that's my favorite card. I didn't choose a least favorite card. Okay. I also really like the time card, which I showed you earlier. The Emperor card. I think that's a very cool card. All right. Does any card remind you of someone? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This card. This card looks like my daughter, one of my daughters. Vulnerable, yet all-knowing. Her name is Kiara. And then which card represents me? Which card represents me? You know, normally I would say the High Priestess, but I think the Empress. And the thing about this card that really, one of the things that speaks to me is, the word that's coming to mind is responsibility. The layers and the levels of connection. And I think part of my process is to always keep this in the highest frequency. And to always be questioning my path. So yeah, so there's something about this card that I connect deeply with. And I think I'll finish with this one. Maybe I'll finish with the smile card. I'll finish with the smile card. So this is the penultimate question. This is question 32. And I almost feel like this is a repeat question. Yes, I will put all the queens on the table in a moment. I will get all the queens for you. What card in this deck do you feel gives a unique spin on your regular interpretation? And this one. So this is the 8 of Swords. And the thing I like about this card is the understanding that, yes, this is challenging, but there is a way, and it requires some effort. And I don't know, I really like this card. It was one of the cards that spoke to me a lot from the beginning with this deck. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you would like to see the queens. There is the Queen of Discs and the Queen of Cups. Queen of Swords, Queen of Staves, sorry, Queen of Wands. And so what's missing? We have Wands, Cups. You need the Queen of Swords. Where is my swords pile? She's here. There's a Queen of Swords. Okay. You know what? There are a bunch more questions. They're really good. There was a laugh question. Maybe I'll end with that. Which card makes you smile? Okay. Which card makes you smile? I have made a mess of the cards here, so now I don't even know if I can find it for you. Maybe it's here. No. Okay. We will end with that. It's really, really a fascinating deck, and I looking forward to making this more of a reading deck. And I tend to go pretty slow with my deck deep dives because it gives me an opportunity to, I don't know, ask more questions and look into the nuances of shade and color and facings and relationships among cards. And one of my favorite things in a deck is to follow symbols through a card, and this deck does a really, really good job of this. So I will start to post some of the thumbnails for the upcoming videos on this deck, and if you're interested, it's still available, and I look forward to sharing more of this deck with you. And just a reminder that next week there will be live readings on Tuesday at 12:30 Pacific, same time as usual, so 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And on Wednesday there will be live readings with the Philarkos Tarot. And so that's 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay? All right. Thank you. It's been lovely chatting with you today. Hello there, Amanda. Welcome. I didn't see you in the chat, so welcome. Okay. Have a lovely weekend. Namaste.